Hello, my little draconic wolfkins. I hope that you're all doing well. If you guys like what you see and hear, please like, subscribe, and turn on that bell to get notified. And if you guys want to send me your own horror stories, my email will be linked in the description below. Alright, let's get into it. I don't even know where to start. It's June 20th, just past midnight. I just made an alt for this. Usually, I use Reddit for video games and stuff. Not this, so I hope this is an appropriate sub. I mean, yeah, for the creepy, disturbing, and all of that. Anyways, I just had one of the weirdest and scariest experiences of my life. I know that sounds grandiose and that I'm also typing this like some kind of story, but it's not. This is true. That's just how I express myself, if that makes sense. I mean, yeah, it makes sense, honestly. Everyone expresses themselves differently. I was in my bathroom taking a shower. Usually, showers are relaxing for me. I use this time to reflect on my day and wind down before bed. Fair. Now, it's not common for me to be kind of talk to myself or think to myself. I continuously kind of act like I'm having a conversation with a close friend or someone, and it helps me process things, I think. I mean, I'm guilty of it. I do it too. I mean, it's a habit. An odd habit, but it's a habit. I don't think it's anything abnormal, and I've done it since I was a child. I was doing this in the shower, and all of this started when I asked myself the question, would I accept immortality given the opportunity? My short answer, if it's true immortality and I have literally zero way to die, then no. But if I can die somehow, then yes. I mean, yeah, kind of like a vampire. You can read the bottom of the paragraph if you want to see my condensed yet still long thought process of it all. But TLDR, I reached the conclusion that an all powerful higher being living forever would be just dreadful as if a human lived forever. Thus, it would make sense for them to allow suffering and bad people eventually, like in our world. I also felt pretty bad for the theatrical god. Or theoretical god. Sorry. Eh, maybe. I don't really know. I exited the shower and brushed it off, kind of like I always would when having a deep thought session. It was like a, eh, it doesn't really matter to me. I then looked at myself in the mirror. I was thinking about that God and the immortal being. Oh God, I'm sorry, guys. I haven't started like this since I first started doing this. I stared at my face and got a weird feeling. Any other day, I would have almost fully moved on from what I was thinking about and has brushed it off. But somehow it was lingering. I started I stared and got a dizzy feeling. Not quite dizzy like I was gonna fall though. Sorry. I then felt my vision shift, like I went from looking into my eyes to looking out nothing. Okay, that's kind of creepy. Both an out of body and the realization. What the fuck? Immortality came to mind, and I wasn't exactly out of my body, but it felt real. I kept staring. It felt like I was supposed to. I stared into my eyes, and my head was leaning back a little now, like I was relaxing. Not sure how to put it. Yeah, that's kind of weird, not gonna lie. As I stared into my eyes, I saw them get dark. Literally just my eyes. I know how corny it is sounds, but I'm serious. It was a dark gray with a bit of static almost just in my eyes though. I blinked before it fully set in, and it started again. I watched my eyes go completely dark. I was feeling a calm fear. Not like I had to run, but like an existential fear. After my eyes went dark, the rest of my face was blurry too. My mouth and nose area were dark. Then it spread until I didn't recognize myself. I felt panic, like I had to stop. I backed up and was out of the slight trance I would describe it that I was in. The fear quickly turned to confusion and marvel. Side note, my eyes aren't the best, but they're not terrible either. So, like, you could use glasses or contacts, but maybe not necessary. Sometimes when looking at people specifically far too long, like during conversation, I zone out little and my eyes stop focusing. Okay, that's kind of weird. It just feels like they get tired. This, though, didn't feel like that. Continuing out was still pretty spooked. I felt some tears well up and my mind started racing a bit, but not in a panic frenzy kind of way. It was deliberate thought. I walked out into my dark kitchen. I've always been scared of something lurking in the dark, but now I just had that image of my blurred face in my mind. That was my only fear in the moment. I ate 2 cookies and drank some water in my kitchen. Who the fuck drinks water with 2 cookies? I would have got me some milk. It kind of grounded me, like brought me back from wherever the hell that was to reality. Yeah, that's kind of weird. Like, holy shit. Quick side note, I used to and still do a lesser extent have pretty bad anxiety. I have bad anxiety too, not gonna lie. I take medication for it. At one point, I'd have a panic attack and did something very similar to calm myself down. Never did those anxiety attacks or anything cause hallucinations or any feeling like that before. Even after grounding myself, I couldn't forget that experience. I really wanted someone to explain or at least hear what happened, so I thought to write this. While writing this, I'm still pretty shocked. I would be too. I mean, I never heard of that happening. Unless you're a schizophrenic and that thing is normal for you. Three main explanations came to mind. One is hallucinations / mental illness or something. Like I said, I have anxiety. I also suffer with depression. Sorry for TMI. Hey, it's okay. It could be much worse, but it feels pretty crappy sometimes, to put it lightly. I have a therapist, and we talk about things going on in my life to just help me process things. Hey, that is okay. I think everyone should have a therapist. I should go into therapy when I have the money to go into therapy, because that shit's expensive. But then again, I also want to get more tattoos. Anyways, life isn't even bad right now, so if I see no reason why I would suddenly hallucinate something like this, then I do realize how much this sounds like a person going crazy or something. I will say, however, I believe I had a grandparent 2 or 3 generations ago with schizophrenia, but I could be misremembering. I mean, yeah. I know mental illness can be hereditary, but my knowledge, no one else in my family has it. Also, again, why so sudden? Only hallucinations I've ever had is seeing things out of the corner of my eye in the dark. I mean, I think everyone's seen something in the corner of their eye at some point. And I think that's kind of common to spook yourself / have your mind play occasional tricks on you. Yeah, I think there's been a study that your mind will put something there to kind of wake you up, to snap you back into reality if you're zoning out. This is the most realistic explanation, though. What really comes to mind, though, relates to my long train of thought in the shower. I had a feeling, and I already know that while reading this, you're probably going to think I've lost it. I would too. I mean, yeah. I think you're losing it. But it felt like I came to a very real and serious realization that coming to the alerted or triggered something bad, or at least very big, would have happened if I kept staring at myself. Like I was changing, or almost even ascending in some way. That's kind of morbid and creepy, but I guess. I do think that no one had ever thought that I was what I thought before. Absolutely not, but still, it's what I felt. The last explanation was that it could just be separate paranormal experience from everything, like my existential fear opening up a path for some demon or something to take me over or something. But I really don't believe in ghosts or demons. I don't believe in anything paranormal, really, but I'm also very open. I always look for logical explanations at that. Was my first one was. I still can't shake this very unique feeling I have. Writing this has made me feel a bit better, but I'm still scared to think about it. What would have happened if I had kept staring at my face? It's safe to say Bloody Mary isn't the only reason I'm scared of mirrors now. Thank you, my mind. Holy shit, yeah. Bloody Mary. You know what? I should probably do a whole ass video about Bloody Mary. This next part is my thought process in the shower that led to everything. I think it adds context, but was way too long, so I removed it from the middle of the post. Skip if you want to. No, I like context. It gives us more clues to what the hell is going on. I got into a bit more and ended up talking a very long shower, just discussing with my hypothetical of how truly dreadful living forever would eventually be. This isn't the first time I thought about this, but it is the first time I went so deep into it. Eventually, I started thinking of scenarios where it wouldn't be that bad. And I mean, it would, but it wouldn't be bad. I guess it just depends on the situation. Some context for the next part. I'm an atheist. I'm also an atheist, but I'm an agnostic atheist. So, and always have been since I remember. As a child, I was a Christian because that was the normal where I lived, and I just went with it. Okay. Were your parents Christian? Or something along that lines? Once I got into my preteens and really thought about it, the more I realized God didn't really make sense to me, and I have always chalked up religion to being a way for humans to explain things before science and give their life reasons. I mean, I could see it. By the way, no disrespect to any one religious. These are just my opinions. I'm sorry if that came off offensive. I can see it being offensive to some people, but I don't think so. Back to the story though. One of these good scenarios I came up with was if there was a god, maybe the god or higher being would create something, a new world to live in, when an immortal person inevitably is floating through space or on a barren planet for millions of years. I mean, that's an interesting take. That would be interesting, that's for sure. At that point, I started to think, well, if that God were real, that would be extremely awful for them. Being a God for an eternity and being human for eternity aren't that different. You would be unimaginably bored and dreadful. Yeah, I would be bored out of my mind too. Now, I want to say real quick, I know this seems like rambling, but bear with me, please. I promise it's relevant. I realized that if there was a conscious higher being and it was able to create anything, it isn't unlikely that eventually it would be bored of creating worlds of good and happy people and eventually create bad people and pain and suffering in a world like ours. Not to say that all of our world is. You know, that's actually a good way to put it, honestly. Never really thought of it like that. This one point started to make sense to why a god could create anything would let people in our world to suffer. In no way did that make me believe in God or a God, though. I hope this part added some context onto my story. It did. It really did add some context. Like I said, even this is pretty condensed, and I got into a lot of hypotheticals and scenarios that ultimately felt irrelevant to post. I know how that probably all sounded, and I am not insane. Thank you for reading. The TLDR. After having a very deep discussion with myself, I looked in the mirror and my face went dark before snapping out of the trance and being left with some existential fear. God